Why is Bonelab better? Let's just get into it. Okay, before you OG SLZ fans get mad at me, I personally think BONEWORKS is better, but I'm just blinded by nostalgia. Okay, so today we're going to go through and compare BONEWORKS and Bonelab so we can truly find out what is better. We're going to compare the games using 10 guidelines to rate them. So let's go through those guidelines now. Video quality, physics, interactions, NPCs, story fluctuations, weapons, mod support. Mod and mod support go together. Accessibility and content. How we are scoring the games is off of the 10 categories. Each category is worth 1 point. At the end, we'll add up which game has the most points out of the categories, and that'll decide which is truly the better game. So, what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. The first category is video quality. Bonelab has less video quality, and here's why. Textures and light maps were brought down so that way they can translate over to the Quest version of the game. Now, BONEWORKS, on the other hand, didn't have to do that. Everything is at full resolution. And with BONEWORKS, you can adjust to post-processing. Along with Bonelab, you can adjust to post-processing. The only thing you can really adjust in the game is post-processing. Everything else, like texture quality, cannot be adjusted. BONEWORKS has higher texture quality and light map quality, unlike Bonelab. So, BONEWORKS gets the point for video quality. Next category is physics. BONEWORKS systems were the first of their kind, really, mimicking your IRL movements and using that to interact with the in-game world. But Bonelab improves on this, allowing more complex colliders, body adaptations, and leg IK adaptations. The Bonelab rig feels closer to your real-life body movements, and grabbing objects feels more snappy. This point goes to Bonelab. Next category is interactions. Bonelab may have more interactable objects, but BONEWORKS just feels more snappy and realistic. Bonelab feels slow and unresponsive, while BONEWORKS just has better performing with grabbable objects and ragdolls. Although BONEWORKS does have simple objects and interactables, it just feels more snappy, like it actually weighs something, like it's in real life. So, BONEWORKS kind of takes this point. But does it? No. Bonelab is more polished, with complexer grips and interactables. So this point will have to go to Bonelab. Next category is NPCs. BONEWORKS NPCs were the first of their kind as well. Fully physical, interactable, and you can damage individual joints. But they were really dumb. They would just trip over everything, and the only reason they would swing is because an object came in their upper body trigger radius. So if you put an object in front of it, it would just swing. But even though Bonelabs work exactly like that, they have better object detections and awareness of objects in the zone around them. So Bonelab will take the point here. Next category is story. Bonelab's story feels choppy and it jumps around a little bit. BONEWORKS' story is straightforward and explains it well. It also has a more interesting story and a longer playtime overall. If you want to see BONEWORKS and Bonelab stories explained, I have made a video explaining both, and you can go check them out, link in the description. Wait! Sponsor time! So, today's video sponsor is Rogue Energy. It's one of the leading gamer energy drinks in the world. Give you energy you need to continue playing a long match of, I don't know, Call of Duty. But really, use my link down below and use code TVE1000 at checkout to get 10% off your order. Thank you, Rogue Energy, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get right back into it. The next category is story fluctuations. Now, Bonelab's story has a lot of fluctuating details. It also has had multiple slight story changes, and having the story added on while the game updates. BONEWORKS has had only around one story change, and it was the clock tower time change from 3:14 to 6:20. The story of BONEWORKS is straightforward with a long, interesting, unchanging lore. So, the point here obviously goes to BONEWORKS. Next category is weapons. For this category of weapons, we will not be taking modded weapons into account. We will only be taking base game weapons into account. So, now, BONEWORKS has 9 guns, 14 melee weapons, and 18 blunt weapons. 19 if we add the brick. Now, Bonelab has 20 guns, 18 melee weapons, and has 19 blunt weapons. 20 if we also include the brick. Bonelab guns feel really good and have a big variety, and they added more weapons than BONEWORKS. Bonelab, however, their guns feel less polished, while BONEWORKS feels snappy and more polished. Although BONEWORKS feels snappy and polished, this will have to go to Bonelab, because Bonelab has not only more weapons and greater interactions, and the way the guns behave is pretty close to real life. Trust me, I know that. I'm not just a VR enthusiast. IRL, I'm a gun enthusiast and shoot them every weekend. Now, so this point goes to Bonelab. Okay, so the next category is mods/mod support. They both go for 1 point, and they are a point together. Now, BONEWORKS might have been the first one to be modded, but BONEWORKS had a very janky SDK. The SDK was only a modding SDK because it was a ripped version of BONEWORKS with scripts compiled into a Unity asset. And that's how they made the SDK. It was just ripped scripts and prefabs from BONEWORKS. And also could only be modded with Melonloader because the game wasn't made with mod support. But Bonelab has better mods and code mods because it was actually given mod support and an official modding SDK. Mods aren't as janky and messed up as BONEWORKS mods were, so this point has to go to Bonelab. Next category is accessibility. BONEWORKS was made for PC, because at the time PC VR was the only type of VR. But almost a year after BONEWORKS release, the first standalone headset released. The MetaQuest 2, actually. It was the first headset that didn't need a PC for outside software, but could also, if you wanted it to be a PC VR headset if needed. After that, Stress Level Zero started making Bonelab standalone and PC VR as well. Bonelab can run on a standalone headset and PC VR headsets, making it accessible for about $300. That's less than the amount you would have to pay for a PC VR ready computer. So this point has to go to Bonelab. And the final category is content. BONEWORKS is considered to be more story driven and physics driven than Bonelab. But Bonelab is essentially the same game, but with a focus on modding than story. Bonelab is newer and has some extra features like mod support, different avatars, which affect gameplay, like size, strength, speed, etc. And things like a go-kart track. But Bonelab is considered to be BONEWORKS Plus, basically, with a basic building blocks being the same. With all of this content the user can find in BONEWORKS is far less than the content for Bonelab, because Bonelab was made for modding support, not actually playing the game. But still, Bonelab's going to have to take this because Bonelab does have more community content than BONEWORKS. So let's add these points together. BONEWORKS has 3 points, while Bonelab has 7 points. Bonelab overall is better than BONEWORKS, but still, in my opinion, I think BONEWORKS is better. But it really depends on what you play the game for. Do you play it for a story or a sandbox, mods or world design? BONEWORKS is really good with storytelling and world design, while Bonelab is focused on modding and getting you through the game. But Bonelab is pushing what BONEWORKS couldn't push anymore. Truly, it comes down to what you want to play the game for. So, what do you play it for? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. So, there you have it. Bonelab is better than BONEWORKS. I had to take an unbiased look at both games and see what they offered so I can make this video. And thank you guys so much for watching once again. Check out the Discord. We also have a free Patreon. Check out my merch. Check out Rogue Energy to sponsor this video. They are a very amazing company. And they have a really good drink as well, so you should check it out. And I guess I will see you guys in the next one. One last announcement. Don't forget Lab Jam. Check out the Lab Jam video if you want to join in Lab Jam. So, yeah. Just check out the video. Check out the video. I said check out the video.